Drove in the parking lot, and I heard people screaming and yelling, and I jumped out of the car saying, "What's going on?" And these people were surrounding this guard, yelling and screaming, and he was injured.
Moving on to your move to San Ramon, why San Ramon? And what were your first impressions, and why did you feel this was the place for you?
Well, in San Ramon was interesting. Working at Wells Fargo, Tony and Karen Stepper, as you know, is the mayor of Danville, worked on the trading floor with Tony, her husband, and they invited us out to have dinner in Danville. We lived in the city, so we were looking to move, and so we came here. We saw the area and loved the area, and initially we came and looked at homes in Blackhawk, and my wife said she saw a snake in a mountain lion or something. We weren't going to move there. So we were going and trying to find 580 and found San Ramon. My wife was getting ready to go to dental school, and we had to find a house. And we actually got lost and drove into San Ramon and saw a house. And we didn't know where we were, but we loved the neighborhood. We loved the community. And so we said, let's put a bid on this house. And we ended up getting it. And not knowing where we were in San Ramon or Danville, we just loved the house. So that's how we ended up in San Ramon.
Did Karen ever ask you, why did you do that? Why didn't you move to Danville? Did you ever have a conversation? This looks like an accidental discovery that you ended up in San Ramon. But given that you knew her, did she ever try to coax you into moving to Danville?
No, I think that she was just so surprised that we moved here in the area. But it was, and they were just sort of happy that we were here. But Danville and San Ramon, it's called the San Ramon Valley for one reason. So then, and moving to San Ramon, it was more of, we're moving to San Remote, because there was nothing here at all.
I heard that term being used a lot, people coming from the city, they said we are in San Remote. So that was my next question. I am sure traffic was not anywhere close to what we experience, not right now, but before we went into shelter in place. How was it for you overall, even as a family? I mean, in commuting, the community overall. I mean, racism again is a big part of your life, and you had to deal with some of it, but community, and anything around it as you settled as a family into San Ramon.
Well, there was never even a problem with traffic, because Karen was in dental school, and I was, and we had a young daughter, Natasha, at that time. And I had to be at the office at 6 o'clock, between 5:30 and 6 every morning. So there was never really a lot of traffic during that time, back and forth. So we never really had a problem with traffic. But as far as being acclimated into the San Ramon, it was interesting at the very beginning. We moved on Newport, and Karen was home for some reason and got this frantic call that someone had painted the N-word on our house and KKK on our house, and she was really disturbed, but just decided to run out and wash it all off. And fortunately, we knew we'd moved in the right neighborhood, in the right street, when our neighbors came and saw what was going on. They found out who it was. It was a person on the street, and made them come up and apologize to us. And we said, wow, we weren't going to move anyhow, but having the neighbors surround us and embrace us meant a lot to us.
So you felt comfortable enough to get on with your life, put this incident behind, and you start becoming involved. Now we're talking about your transition into, as these things are in the background, the sing-along messiahs that you were a part of for 8 years, that essentially changed the course of your life yet again. So, and that brought you into an interest in our city. So could you explain that transition, and then we go into your several roles as you became a very important part of the city?
Well, it started as I did when we lived in San Francisco, singing with the opera and getting to know a lot of those people in the community, the classical community. One of those people was my voice coach, who was Diane Gilfeather, who is director of the Black Hawk Chorus, but that's another story. But we had friends coming out. Evidently, it was the first time we were performing, doing the performance for Handel's Sing Along Messiah. A lot of the churches in the area had performed it, but they decided to have all of them together. So they put out the call in the Bay Area to have soloists. So I had some friends who were soloists coming out to audition. The auditions were at Cal High. So we lived on Newport, right at Cal High. When they found out where we lived, they all of a sudden showed up that Saturday morning banging on the door. And so basically, to make a long story short, to get rid of them, I went to the auditions with them and ended up being selected as the tenor soloist for Sing Along Messiah. That led to people from the Arts Council, who of course showed up at Sing Along Messiah and found out that I was a resident, inviting me to become a member of the San Ramon Arts Council. The Arts Council, we started the Art in Public Places, the Concert in the Park series, all of those things that San Ramon, but that led to the park commissioner. That led to running for city council, and then that led to the mayor. So again, that theme, if it weren't for the arts, I probably would not have matriculated and to take a leadership role in the city.
So the Arts Council did the city a huge favor by making public art such an important part of our city. And can you briefly explain your role and how these art pieces that we so enjoy now, and a few of those that I wasn't aware of, and thanks to the brochure that you gave me, I was able to look at some of these pieces that I may have missed. Can you let us know how that came to be?
The Art in Public Places started, San Ramon had started to grow. And at that time, the city council decided that when a business came into San Ramon, they should have a sculpture or a piece of art that would represent their commitment to the arts, as well as just having a sense of beauty. So the responsibility was, at that time, was given to the San Ramon Arts Council to be the liaison between the Parks Commission and the City Council to go through and actually determine whether these pieces were suitable, quote, suitable, but art is in the eye of the beholder for the city of San Ramon. So the Arts Council was the first one to be able, whoever was submitting the arts would come to the Arts Council with their proposal, and the Arts Council would say, yes, we'd pass it on or not.
Well, we're very thankful. we're very thankful for that, for all the decisions you made at that time, so we can enjoy, newer residents can enjoy those. So thank you for that. Let's get to your next role as a Parks Commissioner. Now, parks are a huge part of San Ramon. It lends uniqueness to our city. Currently, the city's website says 58. My thought was it was 56 or 57, but who cares? It's above 55. Byron Athen, Dick Fahey, they were huge park advocates in San Ramon. And Herb Moniz, who was our city manager when you were mayor, and Jeff Urio, they developed a very ambitious goal for the parks master plan, where they had 12.5 acres per 1,000. That number is almost half now. It's 6.5 acres per 1,000 residents as per the 2035 general plan. Explain to us how the vision was. How did this public-private partnership of school parks come about? Essentially, a lot of it developed when you were on the Parks Commission. So we want to get a better understanding of that.
Well, we always laugh about that is, people would say, you have all these beautiful parks, but you never had a downtown. How did that happen? And we realized that, and I sort of questioned that also, but the staff, and I give kudos to the staff and everyone involved in the city. We're just so fortunate even then and now to have an outstanding just employees who care about San Ramon. But we have all these parks because everyone, the majority of the hires in the first couple of years were park and rec people. And they didn't know anything about urban planning, but they did know how to build parks. So that's what they did. They built parks in San Ramon versus a downtown. And that's how we had that expertise in parks. And it was, we were the city who actually knew how to build a park. And because of that, ended up, we had the public-private getting together, and we said, how does that work? The schools needed parks, the city needed parks. So we said it's our money, meaning the residents' money, so why isn't there a collaboration between the school district and the city? So we were the first in the United States to have that collaboration between a school district and a city, so that you notice that at each park, there's a school site, there's a park. And we combined that with an aquatic center at the Cal High in Doherty Valley, as well as the theater. So we realized that rather than having two small entities, having one large quality sort of structure, and those were our parks. So it was very interesting going around when I was mayor and before that, saying, look at what we've done in San Ramon. And we were the first in the nation to have that concept of having one entity serving both a park entity versus serving a school district as well as a city. So that was innovative.
And a great partnership that can be emulated by other cities as they think of how they want their cities planning to be done in future. Another thing that makes our city unique are our fountains. However, with the drought and the cuts in infrastructure funding and not enough funds available overall, the Ring and Rock Fountain at the Costa Community Center, which is the San Ramon Community Center. Then we have the Canyon Lakes Fountain at Bollinger and Costa. The third one is a waterfall. It isn't a fountain, but that's the Bollinger Doherty Valley. That's a Chappelle property waterfall. So one after the other, if they get close, do you feel the uniqueness of our city will disappear, or is the replacement with landscaping still going to keep our uniqueness going long term?
Well, I hope not. The water element is so, when you drive up the hill and you see the water element, especially with all the stresses going now, people automatically, their blood pressure and everything goes down when they see it. I fought for all the fountains when Doherty Valley was being built. It was something that I felt enhanced the quality of life and made us unique. And I hope that the city would understand that, and the Costa and Bollinger, hopefully that still would be a fountain. When you look at all the cities around in this area, in Dublin has so many fountains now because of that. It adds to a certain ambiance, a certain, when you drive past the fountain, you hear the water cascading or you see it, it takes down the blood pressure. And I hope the city would find the funds or allow maybe residents collect funds to do the fountain. To me, they're so important and integral part of San Ramon.
They are, and the Bollinger Al Costa fountain was the first one we saw when we came to the city to see if we wanted to live here, and we were so impressed by it. That one is going to be permanently landscaped now because of the cost. So that one I don't think is going to be resurrected anytime in the near future. Let's get to your years as a mayor. So you became the first elected mayor, 2003. You were the first mayor of color. Then you subsequently were re-elected, 2005, 2007, going on. How challenging was it for you to see our city transition from an appointed mayor to an elected mayor? That's one. And how challenging was it for you to connect with the citizens of the city and explain how this whole process is still going to keep the city's business going as it is, with the city manager running the show most of the time and with the council providing guidance? How hard or easy was it at that transitional phase?
Well, it was, I believe that coming up and being involved in the city, we've lived here for almost 41 years, and going through the Arts Council, the commission, the council, and understanding the importance of one-on-one with the residents, knowing the residents that they are not just a number, but they are family, and getting to know them and them getting to know me. That was the easy part. Dealing with structure of the city, being an elected mayor was beneficial to a lot of the residents as well as me, because usually by the time that it was rotational and you were there for a year, by the time that you realized that you were a mayor, it was time for you to leave. Being an elected mayor enabled me. I remember the first time that I went to the mayor's conference in Washington, D.C. with all the other mayors from around the United States, visiting our elected officials in Washington, D.C. To be quite candid, it was very interesting. You'd walk into the office and they would say, "Oh, Mayor Wilson, you're from San Ramon." A lot of times, I think I ended up getting the call and being able to see because of Chevron. But I'd walk in, they'd shake my hand, they'd said, "It's nice seeing you. Here's my staff. Tell them exactly what you want. I have a meeting to go to." I said, "What's going on?" So I realized really fast that going as a mayor, I thought I represented the city and they needed to listen to me, but they didn't feel that because we were less than 100,000. So I noticed that Dublin and Pleasanton and Livermore, they were actually getting some face time with their representatives. And they said, "What's going on?" Realized that they had a lobbyist, which we didn't. And I said, well, why don't we all join together and go as a TriValley, San Ramon Valley, as one, and sit down and say, this is what we need from you as representatives. And it was like night and day when all five of us, we sat down, all the mayors, and said, okay, one example was, okay, Abram, you're a veteran. Why don't you, they were thinking about closing the Veterans Hospital in Livermore. Why don't you represent that? And we had Livermore saying, okay, I'll take, showing how Chevron is so important to the Tri-Valley and things like that. So we went, and it was unbelievable. All of a sudden, everyone wanted to pay attention to us and give us some time. And that's how we ended up getting funding for a lot of things in the San Ramon Valley, because we went as a one unit. And mayors from all over the United States looked at that and said, wow, that's best practice. I think we'll start doing that. So that was really made a difference for us being able to get funding for, and that's how we ended up getting funding for the communication system for the East Bay. That's how we ended up getting money for 580 and 680 being renovated, because we went as one. So to me, that was really, really outstanding.
So the power in numbers. Let's talk about the Tri-Valley communication system that was 4 years in the making. A lot of hard work went into it, a lot of thinking. How did that, did it live up to your expectations, first of all? And how challenging was it to get it started? Very briefly, if you can give us an overview on that.
It was really challenging. It was out of fear, because what had happened was we realized when there would be a earthquake or anything like that, San Ramon was on the tail end of the county, so that we would have to count on the Tri-Valley. And the fact is that the funding for it, so they, Alameda County had already worked out a system. And I said, this is absolutely ridiculous. Why isn't Contra Costa working with Alameda County? And at that time, I happened to be chair of the Contra Costa Mayor's Conference. And I brought it before Contra Costa Mayor's Conference, and they said, oh, we'll think about it. And realize when things don't make sense, it always has to do with money. So realizing that the police they were getting funds from Washington, D.C. for funding. Fire was getting funds. Everyone was getting their own special little pot, and no one wanted to give up the money. So that was the main problem. That's when politics and money hit me in the face, saying, doesn't make sense, because you could go from one city to the next, because we did not have a common communication system. No one could communicate. So you'd have police not being able to communicate when they were, or fire not being able to communicate. Bottom line was, it shocked me, was that the only way that we could get this moving was put police and fire in charge of the committee. And so the chair was the fire chief Alameda, and the co-chair was an appointee, a captain from the Sheriff's Department in Contra Costa County. And what was really interesting that I thought was a lesson to me, I brought this and fought for it, but I also had to fight to even be appointed to the committee, because I wasn't in charge of the money. Even though San Ramon had gone, before we brought it to Contra Costa County, San Ramon had gotten together with the other mayors from the Tri-Valley, and we had brought back almost $5 million as seed money to start the project. Now it's throughout the entire East Bay and throughout the communities all throughout the the county.
And I'm sure many people are seeing the benefit to having something like this. A lot of good things happened around that time, including the Citizen Emergency Response Team, the CERT, and the disaster drill, preparedness drill. It was 2006. But one name that runs parallel to yours is Herb Moniz. He was our city manager. His salary became somewhat of a controversy, his pension even more. Many people said it was unsustainable, the high pension cost. There was a time when management incentives were added, as in the fringe benefits, health, car allowance, and then it was removed in 2007. Yet people did say it was high. Would you like to talk about that and how it makes you feel that that is running parallel to your name?
Well, I still believe, and I've not spoken about this ever on public, but again, I think now that I'm out of office, I can take a second and to talk about this. When the council viewed Mr. Moniz's salary, we looked at a couple things, and I looked at a couple things. One, a lot of the cities in the TriValley, as well throughout Contra, Costa, and Alameda, had two, maybe one, two, and some had three assistant city managers. We had only one. And we looked at that and said, and I spoke to Ms. Moniz, and I wasn't always his favorite person, because when he would go on vacation, I said, you don't have a vacation. I would call you 24/7. And we looked at, by not having an assistant city manager and dealing with that person's pension, dealing with that person's insurance and things like that, we were actually saving money. And the fact that we had Mr. Moniz, and we look at our structure and our financial stability of San Ramon, we are one of the only cities in the United States that had 100% reserve. We left. A lot of that had to do with Mr. Moniz working with the council, working with having different ideas. I had a little influence on that as my investment background, but understanding the importance. And we worked on pension reform also, because deficit spending. But a lot of that had to do with his expertise and understanding and realizing us all working together. Was his salary high? Yes. But when you look at an entire sphere of not having an assistant city manager and all of the others, and what he was doing and what he contributed to the city. And I would like to have a cup of coffee with residents after, when we can do that, and to go into more detail why we thought that that was the prudent thing to do.
So Joan Buchanan came out later on when you were running for office, and she used the financial ramifications of this decision-making in her campaign. And you feel now, when you look back, that decision still stands, that you felt you were comfortable making a decision like that.
I was very comfortable, but I could not expound on anything because it was a personnel matter, and the fact it was a part of the city, versus they used that as to defeat me. And it was, and because a lot of people did not go into detail about it. And yes, pensions needed to be reformed, and we were working on that. This deficit spending is we never did that in the city of San Ramon, and we expected Sacramento to be held accountable also. But again, it was unfortunate, but the residents of San Ramon benefited from Mr. Moniz's expertise and the council all working together.
Okay, moving on to the next part of this is as a mayor, you were participating in all TriValley activities and stuff. So tell us a little bit about the distinguished schools. We were at one point going to have 2 school districts, but somehow we ended up with 1. Can you elaborate on that?
That was really interesting, that San Ramon did not, I was just looking and said, San Ramon did not have a distinguished school in San Ramon. All of the distinguished schools were in Danville. And when I spoke to different members of the school board, they said, well, the social economic makeup of San Ramon was not conducive to having distinguished schools. And I said, no, are you kidding? And previous to that, the city we said, no, we're supporting the San Ramon Unified School District. And if you did not feel that our schools were distinguished enough, then we would form our own school district. And so that sort of hit home, and surprisingly, in the next year or so, the teachers and the administrators put in the effort so that San Ramon would now have distinguished schools. And it was like overnight. The only reason why we did not succeed from the San Ramon Unified School District is we needed them. They needed us because financially, we needed them because they had all the distinguished schools. And that was, otherwise we would have formed our own school district.
So we are now a
Them
destination.
to do it.
We are a destination school district now. So thanks to those efforts made at that time, residents get to enjoy that. How about the Veterans Memorial Building?
There's one thing that I saw today,
please.
and with everything going on right now, it's the 2020 National Merit Scholars were announced. And Doherty Valley High School was one of the only in the state that had 5 recipients of the National Merit Scholars. They were Megan Hung and from California High School, they had 1, and she's going into law. Jennifer Hume in Doherty Valley, she's going to economics. Rahid Kodadia, and sorry for the pronunciation, I'm just reading them. San Ramon Doherty, computer engineering. Jivan E. Raja Mora is Doherty Valley, and she's going to medicine. John Wang, Doherty Valley computer, and Michelle Wang is business administration. And I have to say, Annie Zhang from Danville, Monte Vista, only because my children went to Monte Vista, but that's another story. But again, we are so fortunate in this area to have outstanding schools because parents care, administrators and teachers care. But again, we realize the fact that if it weren't from everyone working together in the partnership, that wouldn't happen. But again, these kids, normally they'd get a hello, a thank you, but who knows what's going to. But again, merit scholarships, and people from all over California is reading this. Doherty Valley had 5 students. It's unheard of.
It's probably, there's something in the air in Doherty Valley that they excel. No, but that's not true. That's a school district. We have a very good school district, great teachers, great academic programs. So overall, and I think the parental involvement, like you pointed out, it is extremely important for parents to be a part of their children's education. Let's move on to the Veterans Memorial Building in Danville. How is San Ramon a part of it, a part of its history? Could you explain that?
We look at that and said, oh, we have a Veterans Hall in Danville. And I say, no, it is the Veterans Hall of the San Ramon Valley. Because when the Veterans Hall in Danville, which has been there since the city started, was falling apart. And they could not have the money, and Danville did not have the money to renovate it. So they went to the county, and the county said, oh, we can give you a little bit of money, but we were thinking about having our own facility in San Ramon. And so they came to us and basically said, would you consider using the funds that would go to build one in San Ramon and renovating the one in Danville? And went back and forth and said, yeah, we could have one in San Ramon. Why don't, again, private public partnerships and everyone working together. This was not about Danville. It wasn't about San Ramon. It is about the veterans. So we decided to have our funds and funding used in the Veterans Hall in San Ramon and Danville. So it's this Veterans Hall of the San Ramon Valley. So again, it's San Ramon residents saying, okay, what's more important, having a facility in San Ramon or having a good facility that would serve the veterans?
So that was not about San Ramon or Danville, but do you recall the Mayor's Cup Fitness Challenge where you raced against Karen Stepper, who is now Danville's mayor, and ended up cutting your nose?
Yes, and Karen and I laugh about that only because it was the physical mayor's challenge of the two. And I believe in, if it's San Ramon first, and if it's not for San Ramon, then it's the TriValley and Danville. And so we decided to have this competition. And needless to say, we were not going to lose. and I shed blood for my city because, again, it was a lot of fun. But again, those things like that draw the cities together. And that's what's more important.
Did you end up in ER? Do you have a scar? Where was the cut?
I don't remember. I think I was so out of breath and tired. It just,
Your nose is just this much. It has to be somewhere on the nose. I mean, but it must have been painful. Anything on the nose is painful. So thank you for making San Ramon stand out in that. I'm not sure Karen appreciated that, but thank you.
But as long as we win, it was all right. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's competition. So let's go back to an incident in 2006. At the Safeway on San Ramon Valley Boulevard.
Oh.
Do you remember that?
I was going to Safeway for something, and all of a sudden I drove in the parking lot. I'm trying to remember now exactly what happened. Drove in the parking lot, and I heard people screaming and yelling, and I jumped out of the car saying, what's going on? And these people were surrounding this guard, yelling and screaming, and he was injured. And what had happened was Safeway had hired a guard, and there was someone shoplifting. So the guard went after the shoplifter. The shoplifter jumped in the car, and the guard was injured and bleeding, and everyone was yelling and screaming. So having been in the Army in the medical corps, he was bleeding. And I look back now, and I'll be very kind. I said, oh, I just bought these slacks, and I'm going to get blood all over them. And I said to myself, Abram, there's a guy on the ground and he's bleeding. Forget about your slacks. And so what had happened, and people were just standing around doing nothing. So I yelled at them maybe a little bit. You call the ambulance 911. You give me something to help me stop the blood and this and everything like that. It was just something that you just automatically do. So not realizing that the guards, whose father was, I think, a captain in the San Ramon, in San Francisco police. Trying to remember it now, but anyhow, stopped the blood, got into the emergency, and he was fine. So, yeah.
If you were to go back and revisit this incident, First of all, do you have those slacks? Did you get them dry cleaned? Did you get blood on it?
No, I had to throw them away, which angered me, but that's another story.
Did you replace it with a similar one at any point?
Yes, I did. Yes, I
Okay,
did.
so if you were to go back and revisit this incident, you've said people, onlookers, did not really do anything. What would be a reason they would not do it? Was it fear? Was it just that I don't want to get involved?
I think it was the fact that things like that never happened in San Ramon.
So they were in shock
than anything else, that people
see.
say, what was going on? You know, we were blessed and still are blessed, and hopefully we'll come back to that everyone knew everyone in San Ramon. Everyone cared about everyone in San Ramon. I try as a mayor to visit everyone, to say hello, letting them know who the mayor was, and they could see me at Safeway or Costco and say hello, or come to City Hall. That was the most important thing.
And I think this COVID-19 has made it very clear of how connected we are as a community, with so many grassroots groups coming up to help in any which way. So I saw the positives through us being isolated. We were connected, if that makes sense. But there is that feeling of community in all our cities, which came out. I'm going to read a letter, just a brief part of it. It was from an 8th grader from Gale Ranch Middle School. And she said that I have always wanted to be a teacher for severely autistic kids. And then you went and spoke in their classroom. And but now I know what I really want to do is to become a successful autistic teacher, to be able to teach no matter what the mental status or their abilities, because they are all still capable of being a great human being. You did a great job teaching the lessons of leadership. How does that make you feel? Does that make you feel like you made you inspired people and made them dream big dreams, and hopefully they'll come to fruition soon?
Well, that's the job of a leader. You know, you lead, but sometimes it's important that you look over, letting around and see everyone know that they can be successful at anything they want, and letting them know that you don't have to have one career. You can have multiple careers. And to make it, your job is to make a difference, not only in your own life, but those around you. And those are my parents. Open those doors, letting people know that they're important, that they can make a difference. And that's what I tried to convince to and convey to all the students that I've spoken to, that why wait for anyone to make a difference? You can be that person that can make a difference in someone's life.
So your life, as you talked about, it's almost similar to Green Book. Can you explain that? And do you feel, looking back at your life overall, you could have done certain things differently if you belong to a different family or a different background, or is there or you feel everything was just perfect the way it was?
Nothing was perfect. I always said
that was a trick question.
I always believed that why did they have to give me these parents? Why couldn't I have different parents? Why were these people always putting this burden on me? But there's a reason for every season. And realized that everything that's happened to me in my life had prepared me for being a parent, for being hopefully a positive leader in my community, to make inroads, to be the first of in joining different organizations, but just basically making a difference. So I would not change the thing, even though with all the trials and tribulations, it just made me stronger.
What does life look like for you now? This is my last question for you. So what, other than walking your two cute doggies, what does life, what do you do in your spare time? I know we are all at home right now. We don't get to go out too much, but when we were not a few weeks back.
My goal is to making sure that my grandchildren know me, and passing on who I am, who my grandparents, who my great-grandparents were, and letting them know that they can do anything they want to do. They are living in a world that is so small now, and that there are many trials and tribulations they would go through, but that's a part of. And then we're coming full circle, telling them life isn't fair, get over it. And you're in charge of your own destiny. It's up to you. And anyone else that I can help understand that you determine who you want to be. No one can take your identity away from you. You have to give it to them. It's so important that in this day and age that the next generation know that it is their job to make a difference. It is their job to care. It is their job to be human beings, to be curious about everything and everyone. And again, never assume that you're better than anyone else. Everyone else still cries. Everyone else still is a human being. To me, that is the most important thing. Working with different charities for children that don't have what my grandchildren have is so important to relieve that fear of the unknown, because someone doesn't look like me, dress like me, that person can be a friend of mine that can help me. Because people have helped me throughout my life. And they've been from all nationalities, all colors, all creeds. And I think they've helped me because they know that I would have helped them. And it's just passing them on to the next generation. And that's how one world, and that's it.
And that's how the world should be, and that's how we should all function, passing along what we know and what we learn, and help others grow in the process. Thank you so much, Abram. It was so enjoyable speaking to you. I'm very fortunate for this shelter in place that I was able to get you to commit to an interview like this. It would have been very hard if we were not inside our home. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I have found. Was blind, but now I see.